Okay, hey everyone. We're going to start ramping up a little bit more on these breakdowns. I think they're going to be very, very helpful for everybody, both on the throwing side as well as on the speed side. So today we're going to break down Dak Prescott. The thing that I think is really interesting about Dak Prescott is he has a very much a baseball style release, and so just being able to look more into that and show why that is, and then also show some of the things that come from that, as well as what are some things to work on. So one of the things with that baseball release, and I've seen this type of throw before, where I always talk about being able to load back on that back leg as you start, and then with that front leg really being able to keep more weight off and then transfer forward. What he does is he has that long stride, which makes it so he leans back more, which still keeps weight back. But in terms of his lower body, he shifts his weight forward very early during the throw and just has a lot of, again, and this is the thing that I think is the most common repetitive thing that we see within these top quarterbacks is how well they use their anterior oblique. So you can see from the muscles of his right shoulder to his left hips how well that area just spins and rotates from to create torque. Another thing that we see is very common is that left foot is very strong and very stable. Now, we want to usually not hyperextend in that front knee, but because of how he creates force in that long stride and keeping more of his weight back, he ends up having to create that because of how much rotation his hips going through. His leg ends up having to extend. So that's what how it ends up working out for him. Again, he has that baseball type of release. He had to have been a pitcher back in the day, or maybe learn from a pitcher. There's something about how he's moving where it's just very, very related to how pitchers spin around that front leg. So it definitely works out for him to have that type of movement pattern. Obviously, the thing with having that front leg straight is you put yourself a little bit more at risk for front leg injuries and problems. And then another thing that ends up happening is that you end up leaning a good amount over to the left side as you're coming through. So you really need to have a good range of motion within both sides of your spine in order to really benefit a lot from this throw, because as he's coming through, he ends up leaning a lot over to the left. So you have to have a good anterior oblique system, which is, again, the muscles here going into the left hip. This whole area right here, that needs to be strong, as well as a lot of stabilization and control of that left lower spine. Okay. So this is another angle. This angle now we can see more of how well he gets those hips involved, right? So you can see how that whole left hip opens up and really sinks back. And this is a big thing that we see within golfers that you really need to be able to do, is as you're bringing that rotation through, you don't extend with that hip too far forward. You actually want to keep that hip back and in a good position as you're rotating around. Again, he's got that big extension in that front leg and a lot of rotation with that happening within the hip and that anterior oblique system. A lot of times what we try to do is we try to create more external rotation within that left hip, just because it's hard to be able to get that type of range of motion that Dak is able to get within that front hip. That's a very unique thing. You must have a forward femur in that front hip to be able to really push that hip back as much as he does. Usually people stop about right there within their hips to be able to press back. He has a unique ability to really press that hip back a lot, and how he throws that could be because of how he really generates a lot of force off of that front leg, which would be very, very similar to like what Aaron Rodgers does when he comes through the throw, in generating a lot of force actually in that front leg during the throw, and not only that back leg. Here's more from the side, so we can again see that his hips and his throw. One thing that he does a good job of is when he's loading, he does a good job of keeping that elbow above the ball, so we can see even though the load starts out a little bit low, he doesn't waste any time. He's getting up overhead. He gets that elbow through pretty quickly. He could probably get the nose of the ball turning a little bit faster, and that would just quicken up his release a little bit. And also I would say that he gets into a little bit of hyperextension within that low back. And that's because he rises up a little bit early, so he might end up having some lower back issues, some lower back tightness, just because he has that early raise. He could definitely work on getting a little bit more. Just how he throws, he doesn't use as much rotation in that front hip, so he's going to end up working much more in like the sagittal plane, front and back. And so he's going to be stiff in the hips, and he's going to have some lower back tightness, just because of the things that he's doing within that that lumbopelvic region, which is the connection between the hips and the lower back. So being able to get a little bit more range of motion there, I think would resist his chance of injury. But overall, that's his breakdown, right? We could see that he has some things that are, again, unique to him. I think one of the big things to take away, like we started out earlier, is that you have to have a good ability to create a large amount of force in your anterior oblique system if you're going to be a good quarterback, and that's being able to really rotate hard and fast through the muscles from your right shoulder to your left hip. And building those muscles are things that really prevent spine rotation. So I know it is a movement where the spine is rotating fast, right to left, but in order to actually build that up and create the fast twitch muscles, you want to do that, create rotation from right to left, but you also want to be able to very well resist rotation from left to right. Both of those together are going to be key in really being able to develop that ability to rotate. And we have exercises that go over that in our online series. So if you want to find out more about how to create rotation within your body, we have a quarterback video that goes into that, or quarterback mechanics video that goes into that, and then we also have exercises that go into that as well. So I'd highly recommend you checking out that. Check out our whole page. If you want to learn more, it's at performancelabofcalifornia.com/pricing. And if you also want to learn a little bit more about other quarterback mechanics, then check out our YouTube channel. There's a lot of other things other than Dak's where we break down different types of throws, get you to learn a little bit more about mechanics, and really take your game to the next level. Look forward to seeing you in our next breakdown. Thanks. Bye.